Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mactacular. Boys and girls, we got a ton of things going on in the news right now, and I am going to try and cover at least a little bit of it, but I want to start you off with a little quick personal update. Yours truly is moving. I'm going to another location, so I got to break down and set up again. That's probably going to take me a few days. This shouldn't be an incredibly stressful move, but I've still got to handle business. But my new Pursuity Palace is even quieter and hopefully better internet speed so I can continue making dope videos for you. And speaking of dope videos, have you seen my last dope video, the one you're looking at right now, called Detroit Evergreen? Thanks to all of you who have given me some really great responses, and I want to try and sift through this, and we're probably going to do a follow-up video on this. I was going to spend the next few days working on it, but given the situations that are unfolding right now, I wanted to get out some headlines for you. But if you've not seen this video entitled Detroit Evergreen from the 6, please do. And keep the emails coming, because over the next few days, I probably will still be compiling more stories. Some really interesting stuff there. Some interesting history and just some really crazy stories, but also some stuff that I think is relevant. But what's more immediately relevant is obviously what's going on in Iran right now. So let's get to that. Starting you off today with the obvious story. Today we are on NPR. Iran launches missile attacks on military bases housing U.S. troops in Iraq. Iran has launched more than a dozen ballistic missiles against U.S. military and coalition forces, targeting at least 2 military bases in Iraq, the U.S. Defense Department announced late Tuesday. The strikes on military and coalition personnel at the Ain al-Assad Air Base in Anbar Province and in Erbil, at the center of Iraq's Kurdistan region, began at approximately 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, according to a statement. The attacks come less than a week after the U.S. assassinated top Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani in Iraq. And of course, there is a picture of one of the little booms right there. 1707 likes. How about that? Iran had vowed to avenge the killing. We are working on initial battle damage assessments, Pentagon spokesman Jonathan Hoffman said in a statement. Hoffman added, in recent days and in response to Iranian threats and actions, the Department of Defense has taken all appropriate measures to safeguard our personnel and partners. These bases have been on high alert due to indications that the Iranian regime planned to attack our forces and interests in the region. As we evaluate the situation and our response, we will take all necessary measures to protect and defend U.S. personnel, partners, and allies in the region. The Federal Aviation Administration has banned civilian flights over Iraq, Iran, and the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. And here is the statement from the FAA. Iranian media outlets, meanwhile, report that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it was carried out in hard revenge for Soleimani. We are warning the U.S. that if they take any further action, they will receive a harsher response, it said in a statement, according to state-run ISNA. The organization also called on Americans to prevent more damage by asking for their soldiers to be sent back home. They shouldn't let the lives of the military personnel be exposed to more potential danger because of the acts of their government. So, tough talk from Iran, but the U.S. is responding by saying, hey, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. This is the JewishPress.com. More than 6 U.S. Air Force F-35A Lightning II fighter jets left Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates at around 2 a.m. Wednesday, according to multiple local Middle Eastern sources, possibly heading to respond to Tuesday night's Iranian attack on American targets in Iraq. The warplanes left the UAE just about 2 minutes after the Ain al-Assad Air Base came under rocket and missile fire from Iran and from a local Iranian proxy militia in Iraq. Okay, so at this point of making this video, we don't have any reports of any American casualties. There have been some conflicting reports about Iraqi casualties at some of these bases, but like I said, it seems to be conflicting at the moment. I've got the area drawn up on the googly here, but I want to go to Sina Tusi, who reports U.S. military jets taking off from the UAE. IRGC journalist said that if these jets attack Iran, Iran will rain missiles down on the UAE. Now, Imam of Peace translated this from Saleh al-Baidani, who reports this is being repeated by a lot of Middle East journalists. Tehran told Washington, D.C. through proxies that it will bomb U.S. bases in Iraq to save face and claim it is a response for killing Soleimani. That's why the USA emptied its bases hours before the attacks. 0 casualties. Okay, well, I don't want to take that to be true as of yet, but it seems to probably be the case. I would imagine that Trump would not have ordered these strikes without knowing that those were going to be retaliated against. And this is a very similar thing that we saw in Syria. I showed you on the Googly back then too that when they did end up retaliating, it was an old Air Force base that they had already left hours before, and actually they had even warned the Russians to get out of the base. So this is just to be saving face, which is obviously a big thing in this culture. But I've got the Googly drawn up for you because I want to show you that this is very unlikely that Iran will be raining missiles down on anybody. First of all, I've got it pinged right in the center of your screen there. That's Al Dhafra Air Base. And technically, that is Abu Dhabi. That is in the middle of the desert right there. Now, if you'll notice, there's kind of 3 major areas here in the UAE. I guess they're cities: Al Ain, Dubai, and the Abu Dhabi, which makes a kind of a triangle here. They're all within just about an hour or so of driving, maybe 2 hours, something like that. But there's a big military presence there, and there's an Australian military presence. There is a British military presence. Of course, the Americans are out there, and there's a number of countries out there. Many Americans and British, I would imagine the Australians do too, train their pilots, their helicopter pilots, and their jet pilots out there for the UAE's military, which of course gets a lot of funding from the USA. And then of course you've got Bahrain over here, which is a big presence. And of course we've got a big presence in the Navy with the Persian Gulf. Now, as far as the Gulf of Oman, this is one of the most highly monitored areas by U.S. intel, the Gulf of Oman. And of course, over here where you see Al Ain, this is the border here of Oman. And Oman, of course, doesn't have a massive military presence. They do have a navy with quite a few patrol ships in this area, but they don't have a really massive navy, although they have a lot of great sailing out there. And they too are trained by the British Royal Navy. From best I can understand, I would imagine a lot of their British train their military and probably help fund them too. So this is a pretty well-stocked region. I don't imagine anyone's going to be raining fire down on this area. And I haven't even mentioned the presence of the Indian Navy, who, believe it or not, has one of the most powerful navies in the world. So I would not imagine they're going to even try anything like that, but they are going to pay a lot of lip service. Now, this is an interesting coincidence, if you will, sent to me from Tactical Sheds, who has no interest in building those normal sheds where you stick your weed whackers or whatever. No, these are super high-speed cool guy sheds for when it all goes down. Tactical. Do you like that free plug right there? Anyway, this graphic was made from @HMCD123. And on the left, you see the Department of Defense tweet. The following statement is attributed to @Chief Pentagon spokesperson at approximately 17:30 Eastern Standard Time on January 7th. Iran launched at least a dozen ballistic missiles against U.S. military and coalition forces in Iraq. And as you can see, the timestamp is 7:43 p.m. Well, in military time, that is, of course, 1943. So we go to Q 1943 on the right, where you see Q had said, "Watch Iran. Something incredible is about to happen. Hassan Rouhani, the good people of Iran have the power. Fight for your freedom. Q." And this was from back in August 28, 2018. Now, to give you some perspective, at that time, Rouhani was getting grilled by his own parliament. And they essentially voted to not really believe his official story. He was blaming U.S. sanctions on the reason why Iran was struggling with their economy, and of course they knew better than that. That was just a byproduct of the whole thing. But that was what was happening at the same time, but I thought that was an interesting coincidence. Thanks, Tactical. And of course, your government would like you to know that it's just a coincidence that they are launching 52 fighter jets in Utah training exercise. Wow, 52 of them. That's like one for every one of those targets we kept hearing about. Except that that's just a coincidence. Remember that. In a show of military might, the U.S. Air Force conducted a massive elephant walk exercise involving the launch of 52 F-35A Lightning II fighter jets in Utah, officials said. The state-of-the-art jets took off from Hill Air Force Base over a 10-minute period Monday morning in a combat exercise conducted by the 388th and 419th Fighter Wings. Today's exercise marks the accomplishment of over 4 years of work. A little over 4 years ago, we received our first F-35, Colonel Michael Ebner, the 388th Vice Commander, told the Deseret News. We now have our full complement of aircraft, and locally, we turn this into a goal of full warfighting capability, he added. An elephant walk refers to the close formation of military planes before takeoff. While the effort was meant to demonstrate the ability to conduct a large-scale combat deployment, it was not in direct response to the escalating situation with Iran after the drone strike death of top General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad, Ebner said. That's completely coincidental, Ebner said, though he acknowledged that the impressive exercise was designed to send a message. So it was designed to send a message, but at the same time, it was also completely coincidental. Now, this is also a coincidence coming in from about 15 minutes ago. A Ukrainian passenger airliner crashed near Tehran's Imam Khomeini Airport shortly after takeoff early Wednesday morning, local media reports. The Boeing 737, which adds up to, flight PS752 with 180 passengers on board, was bound for Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. And here we see basically some reports, but again, it's all local news. There's the craft right there. And they're showing the flight path. I got to be honest with you folks, I just reported to you that the FAA were shutting a bunch of flight paths down. And of course, we're only seeing this from what appears to be Iranian news. So I'm not so sure I'm ready to buy this. 180 Ukrainians deciding to fly in this kind of airspace after this kind of event, it just seems really, really suspect to me. So I'm not really ready to buy it yet, but I wanted to bring it up because it just got reported. This looks to me like some sort of head fake, probably a reason to blame President Trump for the death of 180 passengers. Now, I don't want to blow smoke here in case this was a real deal event, but it just seems very, very highly suspect. And of course, it's a Boeing 737. I know. Well, boys and girls, you might want to hunker down because I have a feeling this is going to keep developing. This is from Jennifer Jacobs as of about 30 minutes ago. Among those with Trump in Situation Room tonight after Iran fired a series of missiles at 2 U.S. Iraqi air bases. Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, Mark Esper, Mark Milley, Mick Mulvaney, Robert O'Brien, Joseph McGuire, Stephanie Grisham. CIA's Gina Haspel joined remotely. Okay, so this is interesting stuff. And it looks like this is, like I said, going to keep unfolding. Caitlin Collins reported Defense Secretary Esper just arrived at the White House carrying a large bag. Ooh, I hope it's not the football. Secretary Pompeo, seen reading in his car before he got out, also arrived. And CNN was reporting that President Trump was going to make a statement. That is indeed not the case, and they have since corrected that. Trump will not be making a statement, but the fact that they went and said that he would and then retracted reminded me of this post right here. This is post 4 from October 2017, and it was timed at 11:11. Some of us come here to drop crumbs, just crumbs. POTUS is 100% insulated. Any discussion suggesting he's even a target is false. POTUS will not be addressing Nation on any of these issues as people begin to be indicted and must remain neutral for pure optical reasons. To suggest this is the plan is false and should be common sense. Focus on military intelligence, state secrets, and why that might be used versus any three-letter agency. What Supreme Court decision opened the door for a sitting president to activate? What must be showed? Well, Lindsey Graham was on earlier basically calling this an act of war. So I guess you could constitute that as an act of war, I suppose. That's at least what they're saying. Why is POTUS surrounded by generals? Again, there are a lot more good people than bad, so have faith. This was a hostile takeover from an evil, corrupt network of players, not just Democrats. Don't fool yourself into thinking Obama, Soros, Ross being Rothschilds, Clintons, etc. have more power present day than POTUS. Operation Mockingbird. And of course, that's talking about the media. And the media is giving all sorts of crazy stories right now. Patriots are in control. And of course, patriots are in control spells panic, panic, Panic! Sit back and enjoy the show. Finally, let me leave you with this from the Miami Herald, and you'll be able to tell within the first sentence. The ritzy Mar-a-Lago club, one-time Jeffrey Epstein hangout, target of eccentric intruders, nexus of an ongoing counterintelligence investigation. Really? Nexus? Nexus? Really? Had another unusual occurrence Monday evening. Wow, bloviate much there, Miami Herald. Palm Beach police said they are conducting an open and active criminal investigation at the club. Also, President Donald Trump's South Florida home following an unspecified incident. The Secret Service is leading the investigation and no arrest had been made, according to the Palm Beach Police Department. Okay, so they're cooperating with a couple other institutions here, but this is being led by the Secret Service, which leads me to think that something's going on. And of course, considering that it's both residences of Donald Trump, sounds to me like someone's looking for Donald Trump. During an encounter with local law enforcement, an individual made non-threatening statements about a person under Secret Service protection. A law enforcement official with knowledge of the incident told the Miami Herald. As part of standard practice, Palm Beach police contacted the local Secret Service office. The Secret Service protects the president and members of his family. The president had left for Washington, D.C. more than 24 hours earlier. Now, let me skip you down a little bit further here. The club has been on heightened alert since Trump ordered a military strike that killed an influential Iranian general last week. Trump gave the order from the club. On Sunday, an advisor to Iran's president, Hassan Rouhani, tweeted a Forbes list of Trump's properties, including Mar-a-Lago, then followed up by saying, "We have zero problems with the American people. Our sole problem is Trump." Oh, that's funny because he had problems with us for decades. Now all of a sudden it's just Trump. In the event of a war, it is he who will bear full responsibility. Instagram users have been tagging Mar-a-Lago on a map of South Florida with the words, "Dear Iran." He's on the golf course. And I'd like to stop right there, and I would like to add that to any of you who've ever done that, I hope that history will point you out as a subhuman species. He's on the golf course. The post has been tagged to the club at least 12 times since the attack. And anyway, it goes on to talk about, you may remember this girl right here, although we didn't have pictures of her at the time, Yujing Zhang. This was a woman who months ago tried to get into Mar-a-Lago. You may remember the pool party. She showed up for a pool party with a bunch of laptops and malware and cameras and batteries and spy equipment. But no bathing suit. But she was going to a pool party. All right, I said the last story was going to be the last story, but this time it's the last story for today. This is from the Charlotte Observer. No bomb found following threat. Evacuation at Uptown Courthouse, deputies say. Authorities say they found no bomb inside the Mecklenburg County Courthouse, but cleared the building late Tuesday afternoon following an anonymous threat. And I just want to stop right there. When you're making a threat, you don't want to do an anonymous threat. That's dumb. That just squelches the whole thing. Then everybody comes, disarms everything. Sounds to me more like an anonymous tip. The caller said a bomb was in a courthouse bathroom, but indicated no time of detonation. Mecklenburg County Chief Deputy Sheriff Rodney Collins said. Outside the courthouse, deputies told the Charlotte Observer the building had been searched and cleared shortly after 5 p.m. And it looks like everything is up and running again. It says at 5:39, CATS, which is their transit system right here, you can see their tweet down here, tweeted that the normal service has resumed, referring to bus service. When the threat was made, law enforcement in the courthouse immediately began an emergency protocol, Collins said, and the building was quickly evacuated. Okay, so it looks like all well that ends well, but I found it very curious that this came out at 5:39 p.m. because if you add that up, you get I know, and you know what? CATS is the name of their transit system. It's also the name of a musical that recently also bombed. Yeah! All right, Patriots, yours truly needs to get on his bad motor scooter and ride. I am on the move, but you'll hear from me very, very soon. I will also be providing snark over here on Twitter at IPOT1776. That's IPOT1776. I will likely stay as active as I can, at least trying to keep up with some of the headlines over here. So if you are on Twitter, give me a follow over here. The same goes for Gab, IPOT1776. They're both linked down below. My BitChute, my DropSpace, my my Brighteon. It's all linked down below. If you've got information for me, please email me. Do not DM me on Twitter. Please email me. That is linked down below in the video description. My P.O. box is down there. I just recently got a whole bunch of cards from you, a whole bunch of dog cards. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to share some pictures with you real soon on that. But thank you guys very much. My P.O. box is linked down below if you're old school and want to send something that way. And of course, if you want to support the channel, my Patreon is also linked down below. It's all down below. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay pursued.